I think I've spent the last 15 years trying to work at that. And what I mean is, I've had a concern that what people learn in seminaries never gets translated to the local churches. So churches are about 150 years behind theologically than seminaries are, at least my experiences. They're still believing Calvin and Luther, maybe 500 years back, or the different forms of those theologies that have taken place. What I've decided was that people are much more capable of hearing new things than what we give them credit for.
Yes, I would agree.
I come from a tradition where pastors would always say, well, they can't handle it. I don't believe that. So when I preach, I always look for concrete examples of how what we see Jesus addressing, he would be addressing with us today, but we tend to say, we tend to blame the bad guys in the Bible, and we don't realize we're them. So, for example, the issue when Jesus didn't want to heal that woman's daughter because she was from a different culture and religion, I will say that Jesus was wrong, and that it's similar to what we do when Puerto Ricans put down the undocumented Latinos or the Dominicans, and vice versa. I use real concrete lived examples that people know they're living and they're doing. Or when Latinos are dealing with internalized racism, and we are upset at the whites who are beating down on us for being Latinos, but we don't realize that sometimes we don't want to acknowledge our blackness or our black brothers and sisters and just say it straight out. One of the things that I call it an experiment, but it's something that I do. I've served 3 different congregations, and not all have been Hispanic, but there's always been a Hispanic ministry, and there have always been. I've actually have said that if you don't want the LGBT community in this congregation, then you can't be a part of this party. And maybe I don't throw people out, but I say maybe this is not the place for you. But what's interesting is that, I don't want to get into an academic issue here, but studies actually show that Latinos are much more open than Anglos to the LGBT community. But we've created this myth that Latinos are more homophobic. And we buy into it, so we live with it and we accept it. But all the congregations I have served that have been Latino have had LGBT people there, but not only there, in leadership positions. So I guess that's something that I've been trying to work on for many years. How do you translate what we learn in the academy to the people? And I think one of the things we have to understand is that the people in the pews are much more open to anything you have to say. As long as you've established a relationship. I guess I have to say that. You have to have a relationship of trust. If I came in off the bat, my first week at a place, and they don't know me, they don't know where I'm coming from, might be a different story. But once you have a relationship of trust, you could, and they don't have to agree, but they will accept you.
Yeah. I would totally agree with what you said around leadership that has not valued the progressiveness of congregants. I've been in conversations with persons who have been theologically trained, and they want to dumb down congregants as if they cannot, do rigorous, challenging exegetical work on a passage. I mean, and I will say, okay, well, teach them the 50-cent words that you use, and then give them the tools, give them concordance, and give them all of the other necessary tools to do the type of work. And I have found that they're hungry for that, because they want to bring head and heart to the context of discovering new ideas and relevant ideas within a biblical text. And at the same time, they want to be able to do something about the situations that they care most about. Now, sometimes I think those are power dances that are going on. The leader needs to maintain some type of lording over, so therefore he or she will withhold some portions of information. How do you do some rigorous Bible study, or how do you think about ministry that comes out of a rigorous engagement with biblical text? But I think there's a number of laypersons who are ready for that, and I would argue that younger persons drop out of the church because they don't. It's just a waste of their time. It's irrelevant. It's going through motions that they don't care to be going through, and so they drop out. That's a respectful way of saying you're not relevant, instead of up in your face telling you you're not relevant. To drop out is a nice way of saying you're not relevant, as far as I'm concerned. I think we don't give laypersons enough credit, nor do we give them enough of the sufficient tools that we learn within theological education to actually do creative and transformative types of ministry. And then those who will trust us so much that we lull their minds to sleep will go along with the same old ministries that I think are not really ministries at all. They're just kind of, you're just singing, metaphorically, you're just singing to the choir. I mean, it gets so bad, and it gets so bad when we start to think of the choir and the women's group and the youth group as ministries. We have really, really failed, because those are just auxiliaries as far as I'm concerned. They are context for which we can really imagine ministry. But they are not ministry. Not in the sense that I've tried to articulate here. I mean, I'm really excited about some friends that I have in the congregation back in Dallas that are willing to get on the phone and call everybody they know, to call everybody else they know as a kind of phone tree to get people out to vote. They call it the social justice ministry, but I think that's ministry because they know what's at stake. And they are willing to take the time to get people mobilized, get the voters mobilized so that they can do it. Now that's ministry for me. And they find creative ways to do it. Now that's ministry.
I have a group of seniors that I meet with on Sundays before I preach. And they help me develop the sermon for the day. Obviously, I've done my work. But what is interesting with the group is that the age range is from 60 to 90. But the older ones have all said that they feel liberated now in old age to say whatever they want to say about what they think the Bible means. And they felt oppressed, and a lot of them, were very educated people, and they said, but we couldn't speak our minds, and we're happy to have you here. And there are occasions when we meet on a Sunday and they say, this passage means nothing to me, and maybe we should just get rid of it, or it's ridiculous, or it's like, who wrote this, or what does this really mean? But it just shows me that people are almost oppressed because they're being, they know that there has to be more to this, and they're being fed because they're babes. Some people try to use biblical analogies. They can't handle the meat. They could only take the milk.
Yes.